everybody. I'm Noreen Savage, and this is Starting Out Bright. I'm so glad you came tonight because you are in for a treat. We have Annette in the house. Before we get to Annette, though, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself, who I am and who I'm not. And first of all, I am nobody official with Bright Line Eating. I want to tell you that even though the program is a great program and I've gotten so much out of it, I found out 3 years ago, about this time, from my friend Lori, who posted on Facebook that she had lost 57 pounds with this program, Bright Line Eating. And she said anybody could ask her questions. And I got right over to Messenger and asked away. And she proceeded to tell me that there was a book written by Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson, Bright Line Eating. And in the book, Dr. Thompson describes 4 bright lines with eating: no sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, weighed in measured portions. Did you hear that? No sugar, no flour. I thought there's no way I can do this. Absolutely not. But, I love my friend Lori, and we got together for lunch. And she just told me more about her experience, and she suggested for me to get the book and get in the group, We Eat Right with Lines. At that time, that was the Facebook group she knew about. Since then, there are at least 50 groups that I know of, including Starting Out Bright, which is associated with these Zooms, and it's a private group. So I got in the group, and I just was amazed by people sharing their stories, their success, their struggles, then and now photos. And for a long time, seeing all of this, I felt hope rising within me. And I took stock of where I was. I was at a point of pain, 270 pounds at 5'2". I had neuropathy going in my feet and my hands. I knew I was close to being diabetic. I snored every night, waking up my husband, and pain in my feet and especially my knee. It was getting really difficult to walk. I was getting scared. And so I thought, I am going to try one more thing, one more time. And I promised myself that if I lasted 1 year, I would do what my friend Lori did. I would post on Facebook and I would help anybody I could. Well, I got started in July 2019, and when July 2020 came around, I was getting ready to post. I'm a Christian, and I felt God say, Noreen, you can do more than that. You could help people by connecting them with those who would be willing to share their story and to give some help and hope to those who were just like me that year prior. So that's how this got started. And I've just been absolutely amazed by each person who has stepped up and taken one for the team when they get that text message or that message like, will you be willing to share your story? And so tonight we have Annette Lamb, who said yes. Thank you, Annette. Thank you so much. Welcome. And I told a little bit about my start into Bright Line Eating. Could you just start by telling us, a little bit where you were before getting into this extreme program and how you got into it?
Sure. I heard about it from a friend, but growing up, I never really struggled with my weight. I didn't have a weight problem. I was always very thin. And then, when I got married, I still was thin, and I had 2 pregnancies that were very difficult. My first pregnancy with my twins was extremely debilitating. I had hyperemesis, and so I was on, not required bed rest, but I was so sick I just literally couldn't get out of bed. I had a PICC line. I was throwing up 30 times a day. If I wasn't throwing up, I was severely nauseous to the point where I could not do anything. Light, sound, movement, everything bothered me. So between those 2 pregnancies, I pretty much could tell you what I ate, because I literally did not eat during my pregnancies, because all I did was either throw up or was nauseous the entire time. So I had the twins, and then the weight came off real easily after I had them, because they pretty much they were everything I was, because,
Yeah.
I'm only 5 foot. So, so I went down right away, and I was pumping for them. So, breastfeeding, that helps with not gaining weight. And then with Chloe, after I had her, that's when the weight didn't go off. I struggled a little bit with postpartum depression. I was home with a newborn and toddlers, and everybody kept telling me oh, it must be so easy. It must be so easy. Because they were thinking I had 1 baby, but they weren't factoring in now I had a baby and 2 toddlers. And my husband was consulting and leaving every week and going to California. So it was just me. And then I ended up, after those pregnancies, having some female issues, and ended up having a hysterectomy. And so I think all of that, just the weight kind of crept up, and I noticed it wasn't going down, it just kept going up. And when I started seeing myself in pictures hiding behind my kids, or I can remember specifically one time we went to this Mexican restaurant, and I always like to take pictures. I always like to document what my family's doing. And all of a sudden they went to take the picture, or I think they had taken one, and I looked, and I was you could just see the rolls and the fat. And I was I had my daughter come over and sit in front of me to retake the picture. And that was a wake-up call to me. Was I had never in my life struggled with weight, and now I was shielding myself behind my kids. And so I had tried one other thing before BLE. It was called Annette Lamb. It was a 30-day challenge. And the interesting thing is that it's still their version of eating healthy is, the protein and the vegetables and the fruit. But where it differs from BLE is you can have all the alternative flours, like almond flour and whatever other flours, and you can have natural sugar like honey or agave or cacao. And so I did that for 30 days. And, I noticed, I felt great. I lost some weight. But then, life gets lifey, and I just went back to just not sticking with it. She also wanted, it incorporated meditation and exercise, and, and I just kind of stopped doing that. And so then this friend of mine had said, oh, I read this book about bright line eating. And so she had started doing it, and I thought, okay, well, I'll look into it. And I was really hesitant at first because it just seemed really extreme. It seemed
really extreme.
how do you do that? And so I actually tried. I started a year and a half before I actually started BLE. I had started trying to do BLE, and I couldn't make it past 3 or 4 days. I'd be good for 3 days, and then I just couldn't do it. And excuse me. So I actually started October 12th of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And I made it past the normal 3 days. And then I made it a 4th day. And I thought, I made it a 5th day. And I think what happened in there was because I was on the official Facebook page. And then through that, somehow, I found some other BLE groups. And I just kind of started exploring what other people were saying about BLE. And I read all the different testimonies. And one of the first people I think that kind of helped me help it stick was Natalie All and her recipes. And that was, I think, kind of the launching point for me, was because I realized like it didn't have to be boring. I could have variety. I could, what was the other word I had? I had a different word written down. Oh, it didn't feel so restrictive. You know, I was finding different people and recipes, and it suddenly didn't feel restrictive. I didn't have to eat raw vegetables and hummus. You know, I could make a taco dish. I could make a zucchini lasagna. I could make these different things. And I think for me, like, I like salads, but I like salads in moderation. Like, I couldn't eat, you know, a 10-ounce bowl of salad. I do the 10-10 split because I tried to do the 6 and the 14, and I just couldn't handle the 14 at dinner. It was just too much. So from early on, I do the 10-10. But still, when you're thinking about a salad, that's a lot of salad. And I live in Minnesota, and, you know, we have a long winter and a very short spring, summer, and fall. And I do not want to eat a cold salad when it's negative 30 degrees outside. So I needed to find something that was going to work. And so through that community, you know, finding like Natalie and Lori and Nicole and Deb and Get Healthy Grandma, all these different people, it opened my eyes that I could eat BLE and have it be enjoyable and have variety and not feel restrictive. And so, yeah, so that's how I got into it.
So we have a question already based on really what you've shared so far. You know, you have 3 children, your husband who fixed us up with all the technical stuff tonight. Thank you. And the question is really, how do you manage, you know, feeding your family if they want something different than what you're eating? And I know this is one thing we talked the other day, that this is your tribe is the food tribe, the recipes. And we're going to go over all these wonderful people who have really added to this group and this community. And I'll give you some websites and Facebook group names so that anybody listening can find them too. But from what our conversation was, meal prep was just majorly important for you. It is till this day.
Yes.
So how do you go about doing that when you are doing BLE and the rest of the family is not?
Well, meal prepping, that's where it helps me because I can get my meals made. I can have my meals, you know, like my breakfast, my lunch. And then what I try to do for dinner is I try to create meals where I'm making one meal for the whole family and just altering 1 or 2 things for me. So I even wrote down some meals like we do. So like,
That'd be
if
great.
we do tacos or fajitas, I'll make mine into like a bowl, and I'll do cauliflower rice and mushrooms and sauteed peppers and onions, and then do the taco meat and my cheese or my sour cream, whatever my fat is, on the top. And the kids will have just regular tacos with tortilla shells. And so that way we're all sitting down. We always eat together as a family. And that was something that was really important. I wasn't going to spend extra time trying to make something for myself and then make them something different. So we do that. If we do spaghetti, I'll do like spaghetti squash or the palmini noodles, which is, what are they made out of now? Heart of palm.
Oh, yeah.
Heart of palm. And then, you know, they all make theirs the regular way. And then, you know, they might have bread or something else with theirs. And I'll have mine and have a little small salad. Or a lot of times we'll do, you know, some kind of grilled protein, whether it's chicken or salmon, and grilled vegetables. And then they might get, you know, pasta and rice on the side. Another thing I do is I make soups. And I know with me only, it can be a little tricky with how do you break it down and how do you, but I make one that is like a knockoff of the Olive Garden Zuppa Toscana, which is sausage and potatoes. So I make it and I use cauliflower and spinach or kale, and then Italian ground sausage. So what I do is I'll use my stock and I'll boil the cauliflower and put the spinach and everything in it, and then I will measure out the vegetables and then measure out the broth, and then for part of the protein I use Greek yogurt, and so then I'm able to measure that per portion, so then it's all compliant and it's one portion is what I eat.
So for example, when you're making a dinner and you have, let's say, the tacos going on, is that something that you would prepare all together, like you're really making two meals? I mean, you are making yours just a little bit different, or have you put something in the freezer?
I'm
Ahead
not
of
quite
time.
sure I know what you mean.
So what I mean is that, do you feel like you're making two meals each night? Or
No,
do you,
because I'll saute up the vegetables like the peppers and onions and mushrooms, and then I have the ground beef ready. And then if it's tacos or fajitas, everybody kind of assembles their own. So I don't feel like I'm doing separate things.
okay, but there are some things that you're also like batch cooking ahead of time, right?
Oh,
That
yeah.
you're meal prepping some things that you can just pull out.
Yes. So like if I make like zucchini goulash or the berry yummy muffins in the morning, or I have several items I wrote down that I make ahead of time that I will use, because sometimes I will have a meal that I have made that I pulled out of the fridge or the freezer, and then I'll give the kids something easy like, a breaded chicken sandwich or grilled cheese, or, and obviously I'm not eating that. So that's when I'll use one of the meals that I've made. So like, for example, I have props. So like we're leaving tomorrow to go to Chicago for the weekend for my nephew's graduation. And I know we're going to be in the car. And so the kids, like, we can stop at any drive-through for them, but it's really hard for me. And I have to drive because my husband has to work in the car. So I can't really eat a and drive.
Right.
So I made these little turkeys. They're called turkey stuffing muffins, and they're by Natalie All. They're in her new cookbook. And so you get 6 of them, and you don't really have to heat them up. I could if we stop at a gas station, almost every gas station has a little microwave. You can heat things up. So like this is portable and easy to eat on the go. So that's what I'll have tomorrow in the car.
And I'm going to give Natalie's information. It's Natalie All Weight Loss Recipes Cookbook.com. She's got 19 cookbooks. Also, Kelly All, her sister, started Recipe Ideas No Sugar, No Flour. This is a Facebook public group. Thousands of people, first of all, but also thousands and thousands of recipes. So that's Natalie All, Weight Loss Recipes Cookbook.com. Kelly All started Recipe Ideas No Sugar, No Flour Facebook group. And I'll just tell you, Maggie All's their mom, and she's a superstar too. So that's one. And you also mentioned the berry muffins and the zucchini goulash.
Yes.
And that's from Lori Lundgren.
Yeah.
And she has a Facebook page, My GF SF. That's like gluten-free, sugar-free. So My GF SF Kitchen. That's a Facebook page, and she has a great cookbook coming out. So Lori's got some wonderful ideas for cooking too. I'll just stop there for a minute, and then there'll be more.
Yeah. Well, and one thing, like before Lori had the cookbook coming out, one thing that I did, everybody on this community is so generous to share their recipes, and they don't mind if you repost their recipes. They're not about like, no, you have to buy my cookbook. Like, I'm not going to tell you unless you buy my cookbook. Like, they're not like that at all. They let you post the recipes, let you post the pictures. So one thing I did early on was I created a little binder for myself. And so in the front, I have, like the BLE, what you eat, just for a reminder. And then how you split your proteins and your fats. And then I made tabs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so all these recipes are all the ones from Lori. So like the very yummy muffins, I like that one especially because it makes 4 breakfasts. It makes 20 muffins at one time, and you split it into 4 meals. And I love that because I can make it and I can put it in my freezer and I have it ready to go. So I have some of those for my trip tomorrow. But so I printed out her recipes and, the ones that I really like, and put them in here. So that was an easy way for me to then have the recipes at my fingertips.
Okay, so you went through some of those. What are some of your other favorite recipes then?
Gosh, I do a shrimp fried rice. Nicole
DeFalsis?
Yes. She has a pad thai recipe that's really good and tastes very authentic. I do quite a few of her recipes. Her chaffles, of course.
She's the chaffle queen.
Yes. And I like because she has breakfast, lunch, and dinner chaffles. So if you're not a sweet person, she has savory as well. But yeah, meal prepping was really what was key for me to keep me on track, to keep me especially now that the kids are going to be done school and are going to be home. That's going to require a lot more work for me because then I got to feed them, breakfast and lunch and dinner. Like, the last 2 years because of COVID, they've been able to eat at school. So those were less meals I had to worry about. And so like my breakfast is usually pretty easy. There's lots of different things I can make. But when it came to lunch, I didn't want to sit in my kitchen and try to prep things and make things. And like that, I don't have a lot of time between appointments and different things with the kids. So that's where I like to meal prep and have my meal, like have the shrimp fried rice or the zucchini goulash or the lasagna ready, because then I can just heat it up for 2 minutes and then just eat it and I'm done.
I wanted to also ask you about when the kids have hamburgers. Didn't you say that you do Diana's cheeseburger salad? Okay.
Yep, we do that sometimes, or sometimes if I'm not going to do it as the salad, I'll just do it on, lettuce and tomato, and then I'll saute mushrooms and onions and put it on top, and then do some grilled vegetables on the side, or I'll make, carrot fries or cauliflower in the air fryer, like cauliflower wings, if you want to call it that, with hot sauce.
Well, let me give a couple more of these resources, because Nicole DeFalsis, she also has Nicole's Weight Loss Eating, which is a Facebook page, and she has a book out with all of her chaffles. Nicole's Weight Loss Eating, I believe, is the name of it. So that's Nicole DeFalsis. And I mentioned Diana Ackerley, and she's on tonight. I see her. She's the Get Healthy Grandma. So you want to find her page.
She has lots of recipes. She's
lots
awesome.
of fantastic. And we'll talk about some more too. But are there any other go-to recipes that you really use a lot?
So many.
I know. We talked the other day. There were just so many.
Well, I've just been exploring with Natalie's, new batch cooking cookbook. So she has a chicken veggie frittata in there that's really good. And that makes, I believe, 4 portions. Um, yeah. And then on the slide, a couple of the ones you showed that look like baked goods, those were breakfasts. There's like a berries and cream, and I think the one was called PB&J pie. So
the PG and bake, that's something that you can make ahead of time too.
yeah,
Okay. And this is in the brand new batch cooking
yes,
with Natalie All.
yeah.
I
mean,
know
I
that,
think,
go ahead.
oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is just for me, like today, if I'm gonna make the zucchini goulash, I'm not gonna make one portion. And actually her recipe for that particular one is set up to make 2 portions. So I just double it so it makes 4. Because if I'm gonna take the time to make it, it's not that much harder to double it or triple it, and then I have more meals so that I'm not having to cook things all the time. I can go 3 or 4 days without having to cook if I cook things ahead of time.
Now, are you the only one in your house then doing Bright Line Eating? Or
A
does,
few months ago, my husband joined me.
okay,
So he has lost 16 pounds.
wow. So this is, you're pulling it out for him and for you.
Most times, yes.
Okay, and then
But what
also
I do with him, when I make the recipes, I don't want to get all caught up between, because like he gets extra protein. So I just make it the way the recipe calls for, which calls like it's a woman's portion. And then I just tell him he's on his own to supplement his protein however he wants.
right, because men get an extra
Yes.
portion of
Yes.
protein at each meal, which is wonderful.
And every once in a while, like my kids, there's certain things that they have come to really like and enjoy from BLE. And like my 15-year-old daughter, she likes the spaghetti hash browns by Natalie. So sometimes she'll ask like, hey, can you make those? And one day my son, he really likes grilled cheese, but he saw my grilled cheese chaffle in my soup. And he was like, can I have one of those? And I was like, absolutely. So I made him one. So they are willing to try.
Oh, yeah.
Things. And, I've tried to bring less of like the junk food in and try to get them to eat, other things, like when they come home from school, I'm like, no, have some protein and have some fruit, and not just load up on carbs.
Look at what you're doing there. Seriously, I call this first generation. It's like educating those around us. When they see our delicious looking plate, it's like, well, that looks really good. And, can I try it? I've now had like a granddaughter, like kind of smack her lips, like, oh, you're making those muffins. And there was a question of will they be able to find these resources that we're talking about? They will be posting in Starting Out Bright in the private group, and they'll also be on the introductory slideshow. So if you come back to watch this by YouTube, you'll be able to see that. And I want to mention did I give Diana's? Yeah, Get Healthy Grandma. There are a few more, and I want to get them out there. Deb Babcock, who is wonderful and helps moderate the Starting Out Bright group. She does these wonderful tutorials, and her page is Deb's Delicious Dinners. So she has like 50 free recipes or more on there and tutorials. So that's really a great one. There's Deanna Lay.
Her recipes, she's like a chef, but yet her recipes are easy and doable. I just made one for dinner tonight. They're delicious.
And
that's why it's called Deb's Delicious Dinners.
They're so good. Deanna Lade's got No Sugar, No Flour, No Problem Facebook. So that's a fairly new Facebook group that's really taken off. A lot of great ideas in there. Candace Nelson has brilliantbraincookbook.com, and you can find her on Instagram too. I think I got everybody that I know of. Oh, there's Deanna Schatz. She also has Dee's Dazzle, I believe. So those are some resources, and they'll be on the Facebook group page too. So go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Well, before we move on to like traveling and things, because we want to talk about some more food ideas, is there anything else from meal prep that you want to talk about?
I think sometimes it is easy, like at the end of the weekend or after I go grocery shopping, I'll pull everything out and I'll kind of road map what I'm going to make. And if I have things that are starting to go bad, I'll use those up first. Or a lot of times, sometimes I might not have time to like make the whole meal right that day. So I might, brown up some Italian sausage and brown up some ground beef and cook some chicken and then just throw it in the fridge. And cook some shrimp. So then I have protein ready, and then I might cut up like the peppers and onions because that is what takes more time. And then later on I can like throw together something. So like say I was out and maybe I didn't plan well, or I thought I had a meal and someone ate it, I can come home and I almost always have cauliflower rice in my freezer. And I almost always have, the peppers and the onions. And if I already have the ground beef in there, I can easily make a taco bowl or a stir fry or something, having frozen vegetables on hand, having some, canned things. You just always have to read the labels and see. But I think that's the other part that helps with meal planning is even if you don't have time to make a bunch of meals, but you can cut your time down by prepping some of the, the fruits and the vegetables, or sometimes, like if I have grapes and berries, I'll measure out my 6 ounces of fruit so I can just grab and go.
And are you doing this meal prep pretty much one day of the week then, or is it through the week?
I usually try to do it like once or twice a week.
Okay.
Because I'm busy.
Well, from everything you're talking about, it seems like you're doing it like every minute of every day. But when you really like gather this into like specific times of the week, this must save you so much time in the long run.
It really does. Because like towards the end of the last week, I think I made like 7 to 10 meals. And then that's all we ate up until yesterday. So I didn't have to really do a lot of work. I just would pull it out, and my husband and I, that's what we ate. And then the kids, they had kind of busy schedules with sports and different things, and, couldn't do like traditional meals. So they could have something quick and easy to get off to soccer, get off to gymnastics, but we still were able to have our bright meal.
That's just
But most times we do sit as a family.
So it was just not too long ago. I remember that you posted in Facebook that you took a trip and you were kind of documenting it.
Yeah.
How would you prepare for, this is the time of the year, a lot of people are summer vacations plans. How do you even start to think about that?
That trip, it was our trip to Texas. We were going to be gone, I think 9 or 10 days. And unlike most vacations, like you travel to where you're going and then you're there. But with this trip, we were going to be in so many different locations. Like we drive for 5 or 6 hours, and then we'd be here, we'd sleep, we get back in the car and we drive another, 6. So I had to really be strategic on that trip as far as like what we were going to eat and how I planned my meals. Now, one of the things was one of the chains of hotels that we like to stay at. I know they have a breakfast where they usually have some sort of egg, some sort of meat, almost always have oatmeal. And then, they have usually a banana or an apple. So we try to kind of guarantee that the breakfast could work out okay. And I did have some extra fruit with me. Actually, this is a little tip. I found that if you, like when you go to the store and you buy your berries, if you bring them home, if you wash them, you have to really dry them. But if you don't wash them and you just stick them in a mason jar, these will last a lot longer in your fridge than like the 2 days where they get moldy.
Right.
So like I do all my berries like this. This was a tip I saw on Facebook and I was like, oh, I'm going to try that. And these will last a week, sometimes up to 2, and look just like this, like that I got them from the store.
Did you wash those or not?
I did not. I don't wash mine before because then I got to wait the time for them to completely dry. So I put them in here when I come home from the store, and then before I use them, I'll rinse them and wash them. But these were great to pack in my cooler because they didn't go bad.
Right.
So, so I did that. I took like the Very Yummy muffins with me for like a morning that maybe we weren't going to be at the hotel. Maybe I was going to be, you know, at a friend's house who wasn't eating BLE. Not Carla, my good friend Carla up there. She started BLE. So when we visited her, I had bright meals at her house. I was so excited. But so I packed some things like, okay, so I found these little individual vegetables. They're a 2-ounce serving. There's 4 of them in a pack, and they have green beans, corn, peas and carrots, and I think just peas.
Those are 2-ounce or 4-ounce?
They're 4-ounce. Wait, no, I gotta put my readers on.
Well, you know what? I would have never thought of that. But the other day,
they're 4-ounce.
Okay,
they're 4-ounce.
So that's like nearly your whole lunch if you just use that. I mean, as far as your vegetable goes.
Yep. A couple times I had like hard-boiled eggs, or I had some cheese sticks. I had some raw vegetables. I have, you know, little containers of hummus or guac. And so I would make my meal. And then if I had to use this as my vegetables, a lot of times a little gas station, like I said, they have a microwave, you can heat it up. I did take a little container with me so I could put my food in it and heat it up. Another thing is like these easy tuna packets. So a little pouch of tuna. I did find that if you go looking for these, they the ones that are flavored have sugar. These do not have sugar. So you have to get just the plain tuna. You can't get any of the fancy flavored ones. And I had made some chaffles. I made like a cauliflower rice chaffle that then you put like the tuna on. And I got some little packets of mayo for my fat. And so I just made that and ate that in the car. If you do like your vegetables and you need other protein, these little Justin's peanut butter, it's actually almond butter.
Where are you finding most of those things? Are those just at your local food market, or do you go somewhere special?
The little packets of the peanut butter you can find at Target. And I think like Whole Foods probably has it, but I like to go to Target because it's less expensive, because I know for sure they have these. The vegetables I found at Walmart, and the tuna at Walmart, the individual hummus and guac. I get mine at Aldi's, but you know, any of the other stores will have the individual ones too. Another thing that I do that I found was, you know, I'm not going to take a bunch of lemon slices with me. So I found these, it's called True Lemon, and it's just a little packet that you can add to your water. So like for my water bottle, when we're traveling, I love this because I drink more water when I have my lemon.
They have them in line
So
too.
I feel like show and tell.
No, this is great. And while we're talking about traveling, I'm just going to share my one little tip too. I have a divided plastic tray, kind of packet thing. And I will have like one cheese stick, which is not quite an ounce. So I make sure and weigh it. So there's one cheese stick. The rest I have like 1 ounce and 0.2 of nuts. So that makes my protein. I'll have a little packet of a 2 ounce hummus. That's my fat. And then I'll have the balance of the fruit and vegetables. Sometimes it's just, I only get like 4 ounces of fruit and the rest extra vegetables. Because if you're new to Bright Line Eating, you can substitute vegetables for fruit, but you can't substitute fruit for vegetables. So I could have the entire lunch just all vegetables, but especially in the summer with cherries and stuff, it's just fantastic. Great at the beach and everything.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, we knew we would be stopping, places too. Like, obviously, I couldn't take all my meals with me, but like, I knew I could do a taco bowl somewhere, like at Chipotle. I could do, the salad, and then I asked for double fajita vegetables, and then the meat, and then add the corn. Like, there's a lot of restaurants you can go to that will have compliant things. Like Subway, you can get what's called their protein bowl, and it's basically a salad, and you can add all the vegetables you want and then whatever meat you pick on top. So we found it very doable in that way. Or like the one day the kids really wanted to go to In-N-Out Burger, and I mean, yeah, obviously it's fast food, the burger maybe isn't the best, but it is what it is, right? Because you're with your family and you're on vacation.
What
So
about like Olive Garden? Anything there?
Yeah, well, I'll get to that one sec. But at In-N-Out Burger, I just asked them, I said, hey, can you wrap it in like a lettuce wrap with tomatoes? And they said, oh yeah, we can do that. So, you just eat it that way. And then we had some veggies in the car in the cooler, so I just pulled those out to get my vegetables in. And then on the way home, our very last stop, we went to Olive Garden. And I thought, oh, I wonder what I'm going to be able to eat. Maybe I'll just be able to eat the salad. Well, no, they had grilled salmon, and I asked for broccoli. And then they brought 2 salads to the table, one with the dressing for everybody else, and then one without. And then I just always ask for extra tomatoes, and they almost always bring extra tomatoes. And sometimes what I've done is I'll bring my own dressing with me. I'll have it measured out in a little container. Or if I don't do that, I'll just ask for like oil and vinegar, and then I just count the oil as my fat. Or some salads I have found, like at a restaurant, like if I get a Cobb salad, obviously I have to take some of the stuff off because it would be way too much protein. But if I get it with like the blue cheese crumbles and with the meat, and I mix it around enough, I find I don't need any dressing on it. It's moist enough.
Have you ever found any dressing packets that are compliant?
I have not found packets, no.
Okay, because I would think they would be something maybe on Amazon that might be, if they don't have sugar in it. And here's someone, Tamara's saying at Olive Garden they had a zucchini noodles dish. So the zucchini noodles, yes, I've had that too.
Yeah, unfortunately, right now at my Olive Garden they don't, but at one time they did have the zucchini noodles. And I know like Noodles and Company, that's another big chain. They have a zoodle dish that I will do from time to time if we're out and I need something.
What is that place that has like bowls? Or did you already say that? Like, I think they're known for like their bowls. So poke bowls or something like that? Or Mongolian or
I think in our conversation when we were talking on Monday, I mentioned that we went to a Mongolian restaurant which was great because the whole buffet is nothing but like raw vegetables and raw protein. And you just fill your bowl with everything you want. And then you can add your sauce, but the sauce is like oil, water, like nothing that had sugar in it. And you can make it as spicy or mild as you want. It had a little chart that told you like 1 scoop of water, 2 scoops of this. And so you can make your sauce, and then you take it up to the guy and he grills it all for you. And then you just sit down and you eat it. So that was a real treat because I knew everything in my bowl was compliant.
Here's Diana said Kava and Zoe's has a great, Kava and Zoe's Kitchen have great bowl options. You know, so, I mean, there are just more and more options. And I think it's just, don't you think we're just becoming aware too? Maybe they were there all along. But I truly believe as we start asking for them more, that the options will become more and more available too.
I have found more restaurants like having cauliflower rice as an alternative because you know why how they label it on the menu? They have a selection of items on the menu under keto. So under keto, they'll have cauliflower rice.
Okay.
So it's really interesting because a lot of places will have that now. Or like I think I was talking with you and sharing about like even, you know, going to Red Robin with my family. You know, they all want to do the burgers and fries and, you know, like that's why they go there. And so I didn't want to feel like I was being deprived. And so I've learned how to accommodate it for myself. So I get, you know, the burger on a bed of lettuce and tomato. And then the nice thing about Red Robin is like for their unlimited sides, you can get broccoli or you can get fries or you can get a side salad and you can have as many as you want. So they're like little square side salad. I have found that if I eat 2 or 3 of those along with my lettuce and tomato with my burger, that is plenty.
Yeah, I'm sure they're surprised too.
Yeah, they're like, you want another salad?
One more question for this summer tour that we're taking here. You mentioned even camping, you can figure out a way to be bright. So
Yes.
What do you do?
So usually like breakfast, we'll do eggs and sausage, or sometimes when my husband is adventurous, he'll even do, you know, hash browns. And then for our other meals, like we'll do a lot of grilling, we'll grill burgers or brats, or the one thing that we really liked, and I thought you were going to have it on the slideshow, but you must have missed it, was the hobo dinners.
Oh.
So they're called a hobo dinner, but you basically just cut up whatever vegetables you want, and then we use hamburger patties as our meat, but you could do shrimp or chicken, and you put everything in this tin foil, and then you put your seasoning on it. And sorry, I got distracted by a comment there.
And I'll get to that question too.
And then you fold it up and he throws it on the grill. And then we just eat. And my kids, it's so funny because if I just make grilled vegetables at home, they're like, oh, I don't like, I'm like, it's the same thing as a hobo dinner. I'm like, so if I just throw it in some aluminum foil, you'll eat it.
Exactly. That's what you just got to make it look a little different. I'm going to get to.
We really enjoy going up north to, it's called the North Shore where I live, and there's lots of waterfalls and lots of hiking. And so I have these great collapsible containers that are divided. And so on something like that, I might resort to like the raw vegetables and hummus and a cheese stick because it's easy to take with us hiking, and then I'll pack a picnic lunch for them.
You are busy, that is for sure. And as we're wrapping up here, I can't believe this time. What would you say are some of the non-scale victories you've had with, you've lost some weight? And
I've lost 30 pounds.
Okay.
Today is my day 589.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that is amazing to me, because when I look at the fact that I lost 30 pounds, that doesn't sound like that much, but I was the heaviest I'd ever been, and I was wearing a size 12 and barely fitting and merging into a 14. And now I'm down to a 6. So, the scale, it's not all about that number on the scale, because obviously I've lost inches, and my clothing, like the clothes don't lie, right? Like, obviously if I'm in a 6, I've lost weight. So I try not to get hung up on the fact that I've only lost 30 pounds. Some people, because I saw a post the other day, someone, it was like their day 167 and they lost like 67 pounds. And I was like, really? But like you said, there's other things, like the way my clothes are fitting, the way I feel, the way, I'm not tired and sluggish. And I haven't been 100% bright these whole 589 days. Like, I've had days where I have something, not right, maybe due to circumstances or poor planning or whatever. But I never derail and go in a ditch and stay there. Like, my next meal, I know I'm going to be on track. So like our trip to Texas, out of 28 or 29 meals, only 2 of them weren't bright, and 1 was completely out of my control. We were at SeaWorld. I had done my due diligence to look at all the menus before we went. I made a plan. I knew what restaurants we were going to eat at, and we got there, and none of those restaurants were open. They were only open on Saturdays, and we were there on a Monday. And we walked around for literally 2 hours looking for something that I could eat. And finally, I just said, you know what? We're going to just eat here, and it is what it is. And then when we left and we went out, my meal was bright. So I just, I'm not going to beat myself up if I am not able to do it. I mean, obviously, I try every day to stay bright. But I think that's the thing. It's like life is going to sometimes get in the way.
Right.
And so I think those are my non-scale victories.
That's fantastic.
And I think what's made it stick and what's made it help is just the consistency, the meal prepping, and the recipes. And just knowing that, I can have variety, and it's not restrictive and it's not boring.
No, it certainly doesn't. I'm like excited just listening to you, Annette. And so here's my last question is, if somebody here is just watching for the first time or listening to the recording, and thank you for letting me record this, what would you say to them about starting Bright Line Eating?
I would say do it. You can do it. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be like, if you're not into meal prepping or variety, you don't have to. You can eat the same thing. I think that was the thing for me, was just once I had strung over a week of days together that I stayed with it and how I felt, I was like, okay, I can do this, and it's getting connected with the different people. If I had a question, I could go on the recipe page and ask a question, and everybody is so gracious and generous to share what works or what doesn't work, or how, something can work or not work.
Yeah, I've found the same, that the community is just amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Annette, you're amazing. And I've been so grateful. I'm so grateful for you to share your story. I know that we could keep going. There's just so many great ideas here, but I'm going to have to close as I do each week. Do you have any last words?
No, I just appreciate the chance to share. And, I know everybody's journey is different. And, I know one thing I was going to say, because a lot of people this comes up a lot on, on the talks about, I don't write my food down the night before, but I have a roadmap of the week of my meals and what my meal prepping. I think for me, I just like, sometimes I don't know what my next day is going to be, or I think my day is going to go like this and it goes totally haywire. And so it's hard to lock into like, okay, I'm going to eat this tomorrow. But when I wake up, I know exactly like what my day generally is going to look like. And I have my meals ready. And I do keep a food journal. So I have that. I just don't write it down the night before.
So
And that's
you just keep track of all these great ideas.
because for me, like, if I get up and even though I wrote like, okay, I'm going to eat this today, if I get up and I don't feel like it, there is nothing that's going to convince me to eat it. So I have to want to eat it. And so if I have my meals that I can just pick from and know, like, I will pick one of those. Like it. So that I would say is just one of the things that has been different for me, is just not writing my food down the night before. And I'm okay with that.
But you've made the food.
Yeah.
You've like gone one step above just writing it. You've got it made and in the refrigerator, in the freezer. I would say that you can check that off.
Okay.
You've got plenty of prep going. So anyway, I am going to close as I do each week. Annette, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for all of your inspiration and information. We all really appreciate it. So good night, everybody. Good night. Stay bright. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Good night. So Annette, how would you like to play 3-Question Thursday?
Sure.
Okay, you're saying hesitantly, but just a second ago, you popped open a sparkling drink, it looked like. Tell me about that. What kind of sparkling beverages are you liking these days?
So this is one from Target's brand. It's Good and Gather, and it's raspberry hibiscus. But the funny story about sparkling water is that years before BLE, I would try to drink sparkling water and I'd take one sip and my face would go. I just could not stand sparkling water. But every time I thought, okay, maybe I just need to find the right brand. And two of my best girlfriends would always laugh at me because whenever they had it, they're like, Annette, you want to try it? And I'm like, sure, I'll try it. And I had the same reaction every time. And then once I started doing BLE, I was over at a different friend's house and she offered me some. And I said, well, I usually don't like it, but why don't you pour some in the glass and I'll see. And I drank it and my face didn't go all weird. And I went, I'm like, let me have some more of that. And I ended up drinking the whole can by the end of the evening. And so it really is true how your taste buds change and everything changes. And so I got a little tired of drinking water. I tried to drink quite a bit of water every day, but I wanted something else. So I have found sparkling water now to be quite enjoyable.
That's great. And so that brand is Good and Gather from Target.
Yes.
Okay, I drink LaCroix often. There's a question that somebody had that we didn't get to, and is how do you measure the broth in your soup? You were talking about making soup earlier. Do you
I weigh out my vegetables, and then I put my container on my scale, and then I pour the broth in to 4 ounces.
Okay, and so is that counted as, how is that counted? That's one thing I'm kind of leery about.
Well, from what I found on the community, everybody said if it's a clear or liquid broth, it was 4 ounces is what you can have.
Oh, so kind of like a condiment that you can just have it without having to count it. Okay. And there was another question. I'm going to use that one too. Have you come across a favorite book that you've read? And it could be a cookbook too, but Have you had any book during this journey beyond the Bright Line Eating book that has helped you?
In regards to eating,
Yeah, or just habits or anything.
um, no, I mean, just a lot of the cookbooks, like Natalie's cookbooks and the recipe pages that we mentioned. But no, I haven't read any other books as far as like automaticity or habit stacking or anything like that. I just
Okay.
don't have a lot of time.
But you make up for it with all of your meal prep. And so, I mean, and I've got to say, you share a lot with the community too, that show the pictures and everything, that this is a work in progress. So that
Well,
is really
I
helpful
share
too.
it hoping it's helpful. I don't share it as like, hey, I have arrived and look at me. But, like with the trip to Texas, I kind of did it as accountability, but also to help people who maybe are planning a trip or going traveling and like, hey, this is what worked. And like the one day on the trip, we were supposed to be getting to this one point, and all of a sudden we come up to the road, and all four directions it's just stopped. Traffic is backed up, and the road that we had to go on, which was the only way to get to that side of the island, there was a semi jackknifed, and they said it was going to be 3 hours before any traffic could go. And the only way was to come back the 3 hours we had just come and go around the other side of the island.
Oh,
And so
no.
it was like, and there was one restaurant. And I was like, there's no way we're stopping at this restaurant because everybody and their brother is going to be at this restaurant because there was nowhere to go. So in their cooler, that's where I pulled out snacks for the kids, and I pulled out whatever I had to make for BLE. Like I pulled out my raw vegetables and some hummus and a hard boil, So just being prepared can help even when you think you have a plan and then something like that happens.
Right. This meal prep is no joke. It's like, it's a lifesaver.
It
I'm
is.
going to sneak in one more question.
Okay.
So, because it's so powerful when you said that you tried over and over and over again the 3-4 days, what would be your best advice that you could give somebody who is having that same problem?
Reach out to someone who can help you. Even if they don't do BLE, like I had my two girlfriends who were familiar with BLE, but they weren't doing it. And they really encouraged me because they knew I wanted to do it. So if you have a friend, or you hop on one of the recipe pages or the Starting Out Bright page, and just ask for help.
Ask for help. Absolutely. That's what we're all in this together. We're here for you. And Annette, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for doing that, all the information, and thank you for playing 3-Question Thursday.
You are welcome. It's been fun to share. I was super nervous, but it's fun to share.
Oh, it's been great. You've been a delight. Thanks, everybody. Good night. Stay bright.